Hi, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So we are here again. It's Monday, and let's go take a look at what the market opportunity has for us. Let's just give it a little bit of a minute. Market opportunity has for us. So, um, what are we doing today? How are you doing? How was the weekend? And hope you had a good one. We are going to be checking NASDAQ. We're going to be checking NASDAQ. So pretty much where the market is going this morning, and what we think the market's gonna do this week. So we're gonna go through all these points. Where do we think NASDAQ is going this week? What do we think is going to happen? So that we can get the opportunity. So let's get that done. Let's give it a minute. Let's bring more people on board. Let's bring more people on board now. Let's bring more people on board. Okay, so let's get into it. So we're going to go into the analysis proper right now. And so this morning, we're going to talk about the expectation of the week. So we're going to talk about, so let's bring out our text box. What we are going to talk about today, what we are going to discuss. All right. So we are going to potentially discuss the expectation of the week. Then we'll talk about the zones that we're trading from, zones to trade from. Excuse me. Zones to trade from. And we'll also talk about, we check the news for this week. All right, so let's take a look at it from the expectation of the week. What do we think is going to be the main expectation for this week? So in order to do that, one of the things that we can actually do is we can go on the 4-hour here. And if you see 4-hour, you will notice that NASDAQ on the 4-hour is trying to, is trying to go bullish. It's basically currently trading within this swing range. We have a swing high over here, and then we have a swing low over here. Now, right? The NASDAQ is actually trying to potentially trade from. So what's going to happen is that if NASDAQ should be able to complete this move upward over here, from where it is right now, and do this, if NASDAQ should do this, NASDAQ can, pull back into this area as a value area and go up. This is the scenario for if NASDAQ is going to continue bullish. Like, we need to see it break outside of this, let's call it this high, and then maybe do a pullback into this region again, and then completely go, to make on a new high. And this is actually going to be a very cool, I think. If this happens, this is honestly going to be good, because it means that we can get a good buy opportunity. However, let's note that NASDAQ actually is still trading within a range right now. And what is the range that NASDAQ is trading in? We are trading in this range. This range, and what other range are we? Yeah, this range, and generally this bottom over here, right? So we're trading within these two range. Let me just delete one of this, not make it not confusing. So we're trading within these two range, this high and this low. So technically we need to see NASDAQ to break out out of this high. So maybe NASDAQ is going to blow above, like from where we currently are right now. NASDAQ can just break, then pull back, then give us a new high, right? So this is very likely to be happening. And what else we can expect? So now that we've set the direction, we think that NASDAQ should potentially be going bullish. But if that doesn't happen, then obviously we are going to do analysis at every session before we actually take a trade. So let's go to 1 hour and see. Obviously, you will notice something. When market opened yesterday, market actually opened with a big gap, right? It gapped down, and usually when market gaps down like this, market has to fill it back up. Like the gap has to be filled back. So, for example, let's take away a few things here. Okay, let's draw a session break so we can identify the where we were as on Friday. So on Friday, next now let's identify where we are last week Friday versus where we are today. Last week Friday, we see the market created a high over here, a high that was higher than the high on Thursday, and this is the high, right? So over here, and this is the previous day high now. This is the Friday high. That's where price was before we actually left. We had a good trade on Friday. The trade was a 1 to 2, and actually the trade even went further for a 1 to 4, but you know, we only closed out at 1 to 2, and we were okay with that. And honestly, thank God we did, because see what happens today when market open. Market opened today by coming back into the entry, and then took the low, right? Which is, you know, something you don't want to see. You don't want to be in a trade, especially when market opens like this. See how market opens. When market opens today on Sunday, and see what they did. They went straight. They went like not even stop at the zone where we were actually buying from last Friday. They actually took all the low, meaning that they potentially went for liquidity grabs, right? And obviously, is the market open, so anything could have happened actually. So um, anything could have happened. Okay, so what we just need to do now is, since the market has already given us a new range to be playing from right now. I already drew the previous day low, but there's no point again. The previous day low has already been taken out at the market open. So the low of Friday has already been taken out by by NASDAQ already. So the next thing, and then we have the previous day high that is still there, which is the high of last week. The only thing we have again is, let's now turn on our Asian range. Oh, nice. For Asian range, actually, the Asian range is quite big. And for me, I honestly think that from here, the NASDAQ is just going to keep buying up without actually going for the previous day low. And this is also a good trading opportunity, actually. I think that based on what I'm seeing, I'm actually thinking that I might take this trade. I might take this buy trade this London session. The only thing is to be nice to wait for this current candle to finish closing. When this candle closes, if it closes above and closes bullish this way, then it's kind of like a confirmation that okay, maybe the this candle is gonna at least go. This is potentially just a one-to-one trade, especially if you're gonna take this trade. And but nothing right now. Basically, wait for this current 15 minutes candle to close. The candle is gonna finish closing in about 7 minutes. So then I'll just wait for 7 minutes and see if this candle, this 15-minute candle, if it closes bullish, then I'm going to potentially take this trade. Otherwise, for now, we are going to be waiting. All right, so the next thing, let's talk about the zones. Which zones are we looking out for NASDAQ for this week? Okay, so the thing is that it's very important to have a zone to trade from. If you have a zone that you are waiting for price to get to, then you have a higher chance of actually, making money when price actually gets into that zone. All right. And for me, since I trade supply and demand, I only need to mark 2 zones. And the first zone that I need to mark, obviously, is my demand zone. Like, where do I think demand is in the market? And where do I think supply is in the market? And one of the things to do, if you want to do that, is you can actually go on 4 hour, right? Let me just take away the session break. Session break is out. So I need to see where is my demand zone and where is my supply zone, right? Now, not only would I see it on the, because I day trade, so I need to see the demand zone on the higher time frame, and I also need to see the zones on the lower time frame. On the higher time frame right now for 4 hour, if I let's go down to 1 hour a little bit to make the zone a little bit more clearer. So let's look for demand zone. In order for us to look for a demand zone, we need to look for a zone that actually make a move that breaks structure. Yeah. So let's start from where price currently is right now. And from where price currently is right now, which is right over here. So price started going up. From here, we started going up. So let's identify, like, let's call it a swing. This is a 1 hour swing low now. This was a 1 hour swing high. And this over here is now the 1 hour swing low. And what did you see price already doing now? Price is gotten back to the top over here. And so that technically means that somewhere around here was first of all a potential supply zone, right? And the thing is that market has already, price has already broken through that. Price was respecting it and it broke through it. And then now this area is potentially becoming a flip zone for buys. Like now, this area that we're supposed to be seeing sales happening is potentially now going to be the area where we're going to be looking for buy. The funny thing right now is that that's exactly where price is right now. So for me, I'm going to identify this area 1 hour as demand area, right? For me to pick a demand area, I just now, especially the fact that when market opened this week, we saw a liquidity happen. There was a liquidity grab at the market. If you can see what happened here, when market actually opened, see this long weak candle, right? It took all this low, and honestly, that is just bullshit. It's not supposed to happen. Like, see how this low, see how prices, this trend line was swept, these lows were swept. Like, there's just nothing that you could do. I think this is the zone that we're going to be potentially looking for as a demand zone. So a good demand zone that I think right now, I've already seen it on 1 hour, is this. So if price should get back into this demand zone, I would potentially be waiting for a 1 minute shift of structure, and then I'll be taking a buy to the upside. Okay. And another zone that I actually see below it actually is this zone right here. So it's also possible that if price should go below this demand zone, then price is going to come into this one, which is this demand zone again. So now on 1 hour, I already identified two demand zones that if price should potentially come there, then I can wait to see the reaction of buyers around there, and then I can take the trade from there. Okay, I'm going to move this away. So now that is demand zones identified. Now, what about potential supply zones? The thing now is on 4 hour now, I can't see a clear supply zone, right? But I could see clear demand zones. And it kind of makes sense because right now, it seems like the objective of the market is to basically go up right now. So if the current objective of the market is to go up and create a new high, then we need to potentially be buying. And there's also another outlook that we will actually need to know about is that this period, because a lot of top US 100 companies that make up the NASDAQ, they are going to be releasing their earning reports and stuff like that. So it's very likely that NASDAQ is just going to be going up in this quarter, at least this first quarter of the year, this January, February, and March. Now, because honestly, whatever direction that NASDAQ goes right now is going to set the tone for the year. Imagine if NASDAQ start going down, then that means that something is going on with all the companies, in the top 100 US that make up the NASDAQ. So I can't see a supply zone, so it's best we stay with our demand zone. If there's going to be anything supply, I can only see like a resistance level, which is obviously where we think our market should potentially trade from. So now we have already created a resistance level over here. So I would say that in order to, I will not be looking for sales, right? But to mark a zone that can potentially be a supply zone, I think it's going to be, this immediate one on the 1 hour. This where the previous day high is, and the swing high. So what we can do now, we can go down to 15 minutes and see if 15 minutes actually have any clearer zones that we can actually see for both supply and demand. And we can go down to 15 minutes, and on 15 minutes, we can basically try to see, are we seeing any zones for 15 minutes? So this is the 15-minute time frame, and on the 15-minute time frame, similarly, the zone that we have selected, now we can even make the zone we have selected way much better. This is the zone we selected on 1 hour, right? But if you look at it on 15 minutes, we can make that zone a little bit better, so the zone has to be somewhere from here, and so we make it a little bit more better for the demand zone. And for the supply zone, there is not yet a supply zone also. And when it comes to supply as well, I think we might still potentially be looking at this, this top, because there's a lot of liquidity points over here where we have the previous day high. We also have a potential zone over there. So this can be like a resistance level rather than, whereby, market is just going to resist for a little bit and then before it actually breaks it. So it's much likely going to just be a watching zone for us. We're not going to really mark it as a supply zone. The reason why we will not mark it as a supply zone, although I would say we should mark it as a supply zone, because there was a move that actually started from here and broke all this low. So technically it might be shifting structure, but the fact that the candle that shifted the structure was a weak candle, so I would not really say that we should consider this level as a supply zone. So rather we'll just call it a watch zone and make it very gray. And this zone will continue to be a demand zone. Let me redraw the demand zone on 15 minutes so it's more easier to see. So this zone will continue to be a demand zone on the 15 minutes. So these are the zones that we're going to be potentially waiting for price to eat again, especially. And now what can actually happen is that, let's say at New York, price potentially come from here. Let's say price from where it is right now has broken the previous day high, which is Friday, which is letting us know that NASDAQ is very bullish. Potentially for every new high created, we're expecting a pullback. The pullback can come back into this level, and then maybe do something like this, go back a little bit, then shift bullish, and then, go higher, right? Or something like that. But somewhere around this line, we're going to either have a new demand zone above this current demand zone, if before New York or during the week, NASDAQ breaks this high already, and then we potentially have new zones to trade from. But so right now, this London session, this zone is going to be one of the best zones to wait for price to get into and then trade from. And also, it is actually it's possible, because if we look at what's happening on right now, this is the Asian range that NASDAQ has actually created. And when you look at the Asian range that NASDAQ has created, it's about 320 points. Of course, that's a huge movement just between yesterday and this morning, 320 points. So is it likely that NASDAQ will take this high and then come for the previous day or come for the Asian low where the demand zone is? It's very possible, right? So we just need to see whatever price is doing, and then we're going to make the reaction to it. So technically, this London session might actually not be the good time to take a trade. So I'm not going to be opting in for a trade, because there are two scenarios that can happen right now. NASDAQ can, from this zone, just fail to continue going higher and just come lower. So the best place to look for buy, obviously, is going to be within this range. And if you want to draw your Fib, if you have a Fibonacci and you want to see, you can just put it within this current swing on the 15 minutes to this high. Then obviously, if you want to look for buy, you have to look for buy from this blue area. So technically right now, that's not where price is. There's more potential for price to sell from this top over here than actually continue buying from over here. So in order for us to be on the safe side, I think it would be best to just wait and see what NASDAQ will do this London session, and then wait for it. But for now, the zone that we're going to be potentially trading from has been identified, only demand zone. So if price should do a pullback, we will be looking to take a buy from this demand zone or any time in the week. And if we should look on the daily time frame, let's just take a look on the daily time frame to see if there are anything the daily time frame is trying to tell us. Daily time frame on NASDAQ is bullish, right? And in fact, it's very clear, because the only thing we can see is that this is the highest that NASDAQ has been. It was in October, right? And this is the daily swing high, daily swing low. And what are we doing right now? The price is basically like, going back to retest the supply zone of the daily. And it is very close to actually breaking it. So potentially what we would love to see NASDAQ do very soon is NASDAQ can just, from wherever it is right now, break this high and make a new high. And NASDAQ make a new high on the daily, then that's, a more confirmation that NASDAQ is going to be buying again for a long time. Okay, and this is going to be the outlook. So for now, we are potentially going to be buying NASDAQ until it tells us otherwise. And just right now, we can't buy now from where price is on the 15 minutes. We need to see NASDAQ inside of a very good structure, inside of a very good zone, and then we can take it back. Okay, I think one last thing we can do right now is let's take a look at the news activities that we are having for this week. Which news are going to be happening this week? So if there are news that is happening, we need to be aware. And so we've already talked about the expectation of the week. We think NASDAQ might be making a new high from where we currently are. And we've talked about zones that we should be trading from. The zones we've marked, I think they are very nice zones. Demand zone is potentially going to be nice ones, and hopefully we can see trade once price enter into those zones. And I think the last thing now is let's check if there are any news happening for this week. So for you to check news, you can always go to forexfactory.com and check for news. Right now, there are no red folder news happening. There are only yellow folder news happening today. So since there are no red folder news happening today, then we would potentially have no issue in the market or volatility or anything. So most likely today is going to be a normal day in the market. But let's take a look at the outlook for the week. Is there any news for tomorrow? This is the Tuesday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, President Trump is speaking. Obviously, they were not expecting to be a high impact news, but hopefully there might be a normal movement in the market. Let's see for Wednesday. On Wednesday, there is actually FOMC release. So definitely there's going to be a spike either up or down or in one direction, because FOMC always moves the market anyway. And let's say for Thursday, okay, Thursday there's unemployment claims that is coming out. So definitely we have to trade carefully on Thursday. Thursday is by 2:30. Wednesday, on the other hand, it's going to be in the evening time, especially for Nigerians. It's going to be in the evening time, and that is very likely to cause a significant move in the market. So we're going to be trading carefully. On Thursday, which is by 2:30 Nigerian time, that is 8:30 US time. That is basically another day, another time. Thursday, we definitely have to be careful when we're trading around this period. And let's say on Friday, there is PPI by 2:30. So I think pretty much this week we should be having normal good movement in the markets. The news are not the highest impact news, and I think it's going to be a good one. Otherwise, right now I don't see any opportunity in this London session. So what I'm going to do is that I'm likely going to leave the stream to run for just a little bit of seconds, a moment. Let's say this current 15 minutes candle, I'll let it close, which is about 8 minutes time. So when that happens, then I'm going to, most likely this will be the end of the stream. Okay, and we would see each other in New York. All right. Okay, if you have any question, of course, I'll just leave it in the comments, and then I'll take a look and then answer them. And but from where I stand right now, if I would take a buy, okay, like what I said, that if NASDAQ should close above the current area, okay, we can take the buy up. I just didn't like the way the candle closed. The candle closed bullish, closed above, but it formed a formation that looks like a sell formation to me on 1 minute. So I'm not going to be taking a buy now. I'm just going to be chilling to see NASDAQ to potentially, wait until most likely New York, at least New York session today, and then I can potentially look to take a buy. All right. If you have any question, of course, don't forget, you can always leave it in the comments, and then I will take a look at it. Let's see. So I'm gonna hold on for a while. I'm still around. I'm just gonna hold on for a while, and then we'll wait and see what price does for the next 15 minutes, and then we'll likely call it a day from here. All right, everyone. So I think that right now we should all right, let's call it a close for London session. We're going to come back at New York, and then we'll see how the prices move. However, right now, I think there are good opportunities in on NASDAQ. Looking at these two zones, the zone above here and the zone over here, then we are going to be able to get a good trade today, hopefully now or later in New York session. So whenever I'm going to be trading, it has to be a live session. So whenever I'm going to be taking a trade, I'm going to be going live. And all right, thank you, everyone. We are going to be seeing each other later. Bye bye. Enjoy your day.